we're all proud of our rides, whether it be on the outside, the way we clean it, spit shine the rims, polish those tires, or the way we detail the inside. But the engine, that's our pride and joy. Get that chrome looking good. But the old adage, out of sight, out of mind, comes in play here, because we get that chrome looking good on the outside of the engine, but inside the engine, that's where it gets dirty. That's why we have Ralph Compton, our fuel specialist from BG Products. Ralph, this engine looks good on the outside, but those inside parts get dirty. The question I have is, how's it getting dirty, and how do we get rid of it?
Well, the way it gets dirty is when you turn the key off. There's a phenomenon that happens called the hot soak cycle. There's fuel and air that is on its way in cylinder, and the heat from the engine block just cooks all the light fractions of that gasoline that's suspended in air off and leaves gummy stuff behind.
So the engine's not getting dirty while we drive it, it's usually after we turn it off. All these years, has deposits been building up in these engines, or has it started recently?
Well, they've always built up, but 20 years ago, the gasoline that was available had toluene, benzene, and xylene in it. These are the natural solvents in gasoline. So it was really true when I told my dad in the 60s, I'm going to blow the carbon out of your car.
Right, right.
There was, in fact, back then when we were playing around with cars, what did we use for a parts washer? Gasoline, because it had those solvents in it.
I remember soaking parts in gasoline to get the grease off it, to get deposits off it. Overnight, we'd be fine. But it doesn't work today anymore?
It doesn't work. And simply for clean air restrictions. Benzene of that, what we call the TBX complex, the benzene is a carcinogen. So EPA doesn't want it in the air, doesn't want it in our lungs. That's a good thing, but it leaves some challenges for automobiles.
So where are these deposits building up at?
They build up on the throttle plate, all the way on, whether it's an intake plenum or a tower on a hot rod, whatever, between the throttle and the intake valves, your intake runners, intake valves, combustion chamber, top of the piston, even deposits on things like mass airflow sensors, O2 sensors, and even into the catalytic converter.
So all those deposits are building up every time we turn off the engine. What happens to the engine when those deposits build up?
It starts detuning itself. Now on this one, there's little screws and stuff where you can actually compensate for that. Now you get into a modern fuel-injected computer-controlled car, the computer's going to adjust for its new parameters, which means it's only got one way to adjust, and that's detune.
So now how do we cure that?
Well, there's a couple of different things, and there's really, to me, two different areas of the engine, the wet side and the dry side. And this is mostly wet side, because it's carburetor and it's dumping fuel and air from the top and goes all the way down, okay? You get into and introducing something that's going to clean up those deposits. There's probably people that have been under a rock that have never heard of 44K. 44K is a product that's out there that this is actually 20 gallons of real strong gasoline detergent. Kind of like Kool-Aid is not a refreshing drink, just the powder. When you put it in the tank, you've got that whole tank full where it's cleaning in a real strong fashion. Now sometimes, like referring again to an injected car, there's an area above the injectors, throttle plate, intake plenum, that builds deposits too. So we use an apparatus like this and a product that, like what we call a vapor degreaser. We pressurize this tool with air, we put the product in it, and we attach this in front of the throttle plate, and this would work great on a carbureted car also. And attach this, and it's going to have a cone of this, what I was saying, a vapor degreaser coming down in there, which will literally float and soak all of those deposits, whether they're hard carbon, soot, and down into the engine. For that time, we turn the engine from a power plant into a chemical processing plant. So we're using that heat of combustion to break that chemistry up and destroy it and send it on out.
Well, Ralph, thanks for joining us on Street Riding Garage. And remember, looks are good, but it's what's inside that counts.